Good afternoon and welcome to our live webinar with Sports, Exercise and Health. My name's Lucy Collins. I'm the Director of Home Recruitment and Conversion here at the University, and we are delighted that you can join us for what I hope is going to be a really exciting session. We've got 45 minutes together, and during that time we'll give you all the information you need about sports, exercise and health. This is your opportunity to ask any questions that you might have, and you can do so using the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. The webinar is being recorded and it will be available on our website shortly afterwards if you would like to look back at any of it. Now, today I am joined by a panel from the Centre of Sport, Exercise and Health. I'll hand over to them to introduce themselves in a bit more detail, but we have got Matt Birch, Joe Blackett and Matt Payne, who I think some of our eagle-eyed webinar viewers might have got a sneak peek of before the webinar started properly, but you'll be able to meet him in all his glory in a few minutes. So if we start off with you, Matt Birch.
Hi, good afternoon. As Lucy says, my name is Matt Birch. I'm the Director of Sport, Exercise and Health. And so I guess I oversee all of the sport and activity that goes on across the institution.
Hi, my name's Joe Blackett. I'm the Business Development Manager. I'm going to talk to you today around some of our facilities and our memberships that we have available for students at Bristol.
And Matt.
Yeah, and my name's Matt Payne. I'm the Performance Sport Manager at the University of Bristol, so looking after all things performance, whether that's students coming to the university for dual careers, for our student clubs, and working with our coaches to provide an environment for them to excel.
Fantastic. Thank you for introducing yourself to everybody. And before we start with the main question and answer sessions, we really wanted to give you an introduction into what it's like to take part in sport whilst you're studying with us. And over the next few slides, Matt and Joe are going to give you a flavour of life around sport, exercise and health before we launch into some of your questions. So if there are things that are occurring to you as the presentation is taking place, things that you might want to follow up in a bit more detail, then please feel free to add a question into the chat box so that we can follow it up following the presentation. Okay, right, so we're going to start, Matt Birch, with you, and if you can just remind me to click onto the next slide as soon as you're ready, that would be fantastic. Okay.
Hey, thanks, Lucy. I guess the first thing that I really want to emphasise is the diverse opportunity which exists at the university in terms of sport. So many of you will have experienced sport in your college or your sixth form, and there is great offers there in those environments. But once you come to a university, the breadth of the offer really does open up. So whether it be the 70-odd sports clubs which exist within the Students' Union, the hundreds of classes and come and try sessions which are also on offer, and the range of facilities. It's probably a different world to perhaps you've experienced up until this point. Sport at the institution is for all. So it's, yes, of course, for those who are high performing and want to compete for the university on a Wednesday afternoon, but it's also for those of you who actually just want to go to a yoga session and meet up in a social environment with your friends. A key thing that I guess characterises our approach is also our partnership with the Students' Union. So what that ensures is that we listen to the students, and the students are absolutely central to the way that we design our programmes and the way that we deliver them. One programme which I'd particularly like to highlight is our Be Active programme. That runs across the residences and within our campus facilities. Low cost, low commitment, great way to make new friends and to be part of the community of sport which exists here at Bristol. Lucy.
I'm just going to take the opportunity to talk to you about some of the facilities that we have at the University of Bristol. Our three main sites provide a wide range of opportunities to take part in activity whilst you're here at Bristol. The Indoor Sports Centre is at the heart of campus, and this is home to our gym, our studios, our sports hall and our sports medicine clinic. The 32-metre swimming pool is a 10-minute walk away over in the Students' Union building, and our Coombe Dingle Sports Complex, which is our main outdoor facility, is near the North Village accommodation and is home to our indoor and outdoor tennis facilities and our sports pitches and courts. As a student, you're welcome to take out any of our flexible memberships at any time of the year, choosing to pay monthly by direct debit, quarterly, or by annual payment, and you can upgrade whenever you fancy. The £5.99 a month We Are Bristol Pass is the foundation of all of our memberships and is a must for those who want to train with our sports clubs and attend a lot of the Be Active campus sessions that Matt was just speaking about. You can also then choose to add on swimming, gymming, fitness classes, or all three. Just pick the right package for you. Alternatively, if you prefer to keep things casual, all of our facilities can be accessed on a pay-as-you-go basis. Thanks, Lucy.
So the benefits of sport are, I guess, are an activity are being increasingly well understood, and certainly here at Bristol, we regard sport and activity as being essential to both physical and mental health. It's a great way to develop a sense of belonging and to really settle into the university. One programme again that I'd like to highlight is our Healthy Minds programme. So that's a referral programme from Student Services, and those that are referred to the division would receive a mentor who would help them to develop a programme designed to help them both physically and mentally. In addition to that sort of approach around mental health, employability is a critical element of a student's life at Bristol. We run a programme called Game Changers, which has a number of elements to it, some core units around leadership, teamwork and communication, but an element of experiential learning, which allows us to work with partners to develop sport with students for both the community and for our students. Yeah, I think Lucy, next, please.
Brilliant, thanks Lucy. On to our sports clubs and societies, how you can really get involved and become part of the team. We have over 70 sports clubs and societies for you to choose from. Obviously from some of the more familiar ones such as tennis, rugby, football and hockey, to some of the more unusual ones such as synchronised swimming, korfball and the very famous Quidditch is now played within the university. Joining one of the sports clubs and societies gives you the opportunity to compete in the Bucks League. So the British University College Sport League, which some of you may have heard about, is a famous and fantastic opportunity on a Wednesday afternoon to perform for the university and to take real pride in playing for the university in whatever sport you may choose. We've taken a lot of pride in being inside the top 10 in Bucks for the last 5 seasons. And that's taken a lot of hard work, but it's down to the student clubs who have led and driven that. And their success on the pitch has allowed us to really enjoy that and to really move forward with sport at Bristol. That's one side of things. If you don't want to commit to training lots in the week and a real commitment, there is a fantastic intramural programme, which is with over 1,000 students taking part. That could be with your friends in halls, it could be with your friends that you live with, and it could be friends that you meet on your course. So you can come together and play a range of different sports, maybe taking part on a weekend with a little bit more of a relaxed feel with men's and ladies teams. But again, another opportunity for some of those sports in Bucks to be then played within an intramural environment, just without as much of the contact time needed. Finally, on to kind of our talented end of the programme, we run and offer Vice-Chancellor scholarships across sports. So we allow students like yourselves to apply who are performing at a junior or senior international level and feel that like combining sport and academic is for you in a dual career environment, then we want to hear from you. The opportunity to read about that and to apply will be made available through our website, and you can also, that will be opening up in December this year and running through till March for entry next year into 2021. So please get in touch if you feel that's something you'd like to do. Thanks, Lucy.
Fantastic, thank you. Right, so now following on from that presentation, which gave us a really good overview, I think, about sport at Bristol, about how it can be integrated with other parts of university life. And we've now got questions that were submitted ahead of the webinar that we'll go through, and then we're getting lots of questions coming in from people who are watching live, so we will cover all of them. So just if we start with the questions that have been submitted previously, obviously at the moment we're talking about, we're going to be embarking upon a term of blended learning, and one of our viewers has asked what sports facilities will be available during the blended learning period. Jo, is that something that you could talk us through?
Yeah, sure. So we reopened our indoor sports centre provision on the 1st of August. So we've got people back using the facilities in the gym and in the class programme now. We've also
Jo, I think you're freezing a bit, so we're going to go over to Matt Birch. Are you able just to follow up from what Jo was talking about in terms of available learning?
And our swimming pool is actually reopening after a period of sort of maintenance refurbishment.
We can't hear you very well at the moment, so you're back. I'm going to mute you for 1 second and get Matt to speak before we sort out your technical challenges. Matt, can you tell us about blended, the impact of blended learning, please, on sport?
Yeah, of course. So as Jo started to outline, all of our facilities are now reopening or are due to reopen in the next few weeks. So whether that be the swimming pool, the indoor centre, the gym, or the outdoor facilities at Coombe, they are now available. But the other thing that we've done over the last few months is introduced a new app. So there is also online provision, so people can actually follow the classes and join in the comfort of their own home.
Fantastic. And staying with you, Matt, we've had a question that's come in to say, can you talk us through what information you have on occupational therapy and physiotherapy for those who, I'm assuming, are taking part in sport whilst they're studying with us?
Well, I guess the first point to note is that the university doesn't offer academic programmes in those areas. But within the division, we have a sports medicine clinic, which is made up of a whole range of professionals who are there to help all sorts of people, whether they be elite athletes or whether they be somebody such as myself who's just got a bad back. So, yeah, you can call on all of those people. Reduced rates for students, obviously, and is included within membership packages. But we don't have the academic programmes that we're particularly asked about.
Lovely, thank you. Matt Payne, in your part of the presentation, you talked about that range of sports that are available to take part in. We've had a question in to say, are there lots of opportunities to play rugby at university? And possibly it would be helpful to kind of cover what level you're able to engage in rugby in, if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks, Lucy. Yeah, rugby has got a fantastic history within the university. It's a huge club in terms of the range of opportunities that it has within it, and rugby at the university in terms of the men's and women's programs that we have. So just to cover off both of those, in terms of the men's, there's 4 teams that would take part in Bucks that we would enter. The ladies have got 3 teams in Bucks.
What does Bucks stand for, Matt? For people?
Yeah, it's the British University College Sport League.
Thank you.
So that's the one that would take place every Wednesday. And then obviously that's where we've been successful in the last few years inside the top 10. But so rugby have got obviously those teams that take part there. We also have a local kind of tricks league, which is an afternoon opportunity for people that might not have been participating in some of those Bucks teams. And obviously the intramural league that I spoke about, rugby also has an opportunity in there. So if you don't want kind of the full-on training and the coaching and the S&C that would come with being part of the rugby club and aspiring to be in some of those teams, there's also opportunity with your friends to play rugby on a weekend, a little bit more of a social opportunity, as well as enjoying the game that you really want to.
Fantastic. So something for everybody and at every level, basically. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Joe, welcome back.
I don't know where I went, but
that's quite all right.
Sorry.
See you again. No, it's lovely to have you with us. There's a question saying, do you have to be really good at sport to take part? Because I think there are those potential, and you can tell us whether they're misconceptions or not, that you have to be an elite athlete to take part. Tell us if that's the case or not.
That's not the case. We have opportunities for everybody to take part in physical activity, whether that's you want to start something brand new, or whether you want to pick something up that you maybe haven't done over the last few years. We hopefully our clubs all have that participation, social kind of level right through to the performance level that Matt's spoken about. One of the really kind of great events that we historically held is our kind of give it a go kind of opportunities. So that's where new students coming in, or returners who maybe haven't got involved before, have the opportunity to try out all of the different sports that, well, as many as they want of the different sports that we have, and yeah, just to see what takes their fancy. A lot of them have beginners, sort of novice courses as well, which they can kind of run and help people just to get involved in what everyone did. We also reference the active program, which is free or low cost, sort of £2, to try out some of these classes and things as well, just to see what it is that you're going to enjoy to do and how it fits with your study.
Perfect, thank you. Now, Matt Birch, it was covered a bit in the presentation that we heard a few moments ago in terms of scholarship opportunities, but we've had a question in from a viewer who says, can you provide me with a bit of information about the sports scholarships you have? Now, this person has said specifically for squash.
So I think Matt Payne touched on it briefly, but we offer annually, we offer VC scholarships. What they're made of is essentially we provide a range of support services to the athletes who are part of that squad, and there's probably 25 to 30 of them within the squad each year. So a range of services including strength and conditioning, coaching, sports medicine, but in addition to that there are also financial scholarships which some of those scholars receive. So it's treated on an individual case-by-case basis, and any sport potentially could be included within that. So what we're really interested in is the level of performance of the athlete, and those who are really performing at the top of their sport, we would very much like to hear from you, as Matt suggested, and we can start a discussion about whether you're eligible for one of those scholarships. Brilliant,
thank you, that's really helpful. Now, obviously we've talked about the value of taking part in sport for its own sake, but there are additional benefits, aren't there? And one of our viewers has asked us, does taking part in sport at university help with employability? Who'd like to answer?
I'll start. Somebody else can come in if they feel it's right. But there was an interesting study that was commissioned by Sheffield Hallam, or conducted by Sheffield Hallam University a few years ago. What it found was that those students that engaged in some form of sport or physical activity during their time at university, their starting salary was about 25% higher than somebody who didn't participate in sport or activity during their time at university. So forgetting all of the mental and physical health benefits, forgetting all of the sense of belonging and community building stuff, if for no other reason, you should engage in sport because you'll earn more money at the end of it.
And why is that, Matt? What is it about taking part in sport that is going to result in such a significant increase in salary potentially?
I guess there's two sides to it. So in terms of the sort of skills that you would develop, whether they be around communication or leadership or teamwork or whatever, actually they are incredibly valued by employers. So yeah, they'll give you more skills, but actually when you come to sit in front of those employers and you're having an interview, you can talk about, you've got real life experience from your sporting career or your experiences within activity to show that you are suitable for the job. So it gives you the skills, but it is also something which employers want to hear more about.
Brilliant, thank you. That's really helpful. Now, Jo, a question for you. We've had people who have taken part in other sessions this week to learn a bit more about the university, people who have potentially visited us before or looked at our website, will know that we're a non-campus university. And so I think sometimes that makes people think, oh, where will I take part in sport? Is it all clustered in one area? How does it operate at Bristol in terms of where activity takes place? Is it in one building or is it all over the place?
We like to encourage the moving around the city and all of this type of thing. So yeah, it's not our facilities aren't in one place as you may get with some other campus universities. So our sports facilities are the indoor sports centre that I discussed earlier with the gym and the sports hall. That's on kind of main campus, alongside sort of the arts and social sciences library and the physics building. Our swimming pool is in the basement of the students' Union building, which is again about 10 minutes from the indoor sports centre. The outdoor facility at Coombe, which I referenced, is a little bit further. It's about kind of half an hour or so away by the North Village accommodation, but we do have a university bus service which runs to the halls, and then it's kind of just like a 10-minute walk down to Coombe Dingle. We also have our boathouse, which is out at Salford, which is the home to our rowing club, and obviously they work really hard to get people to and fro from those facilities. And also, I think those are kind of main facilities in terms of kind of membership offer and where a lot of our sports are based. But as Matt said, we've got over 70 sports clubs, and some of them need lakes, and some of them need climbing walls, and some of them. So we use facilities across the city, and it's a great opportunity. Bristol is full of great gyms in terms of gymnastic facilities and climbing centres and things that our students can also use as part of their club activity.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's almost as though it's a deliberate tactic to get people to increase their steps or jog from one place to the other to make sure they're constantly active. Good. Matt, we've had a question in which I think will be one that lots of people are interested in, because obviously people are taking part in this webinar to find out about the university in general, about their academic discipline, but also what they're going to do outside of their studying their subject. And our viewer wants to know, is it possible to balance sport with academic sessions? So I would imagine that's either because you're massively into sport and you want to do loads of it at the same time as studying, or I suppose it might be because you are one of those elite athletes that you were talking about earlier, where inevitably sport is going to take up a huge proportion of your time. So how does it work generally? How do people find that balance?
Yeah, I think it's something that's always impressed me about students that have come through the door at Bristol. They seem to come with a skill of being able to balance, whether that's serious amounts of time academically, that normally a lot of the students' time would be 9 to 5, so we've always based our thought processes being things before 9 o'clock in the morning and things after 5 in the evening, where we would run sessions and engage with our students. The courses that a lot of students will be looking at, they are heavily academic, and the students that are on this call hopefully are interested in combining both of those. And we've done things over time where we've worked out little slots in the day, or there might be other times when we can engage with people, but we've really kept to those kind of bookends of the day to actually do a lot of the delivery and the coaching and the sessions that we would run. But I think with things going forward, the little bit more flexibility and the way the academic timetables do work, when you get a student that then kind of sits down and looks at what their week looks like, you can actually find little pockets of time when you can engage one-on-one, whether that be other sessions, or a student just understands how to work their week out. And then when they do that, I think they really kick on. And we've been impressed that most people have come to the university, and from Olympians to all kinds of things have been achieved, and splitting degrees and, all of that stuff that students, if they want to do that, if there is a desire to do that and achieve that, we have great relationships with the academic schools of which we speak to, and they're really excited that they're teaching sporty students or very vibrant students that want to achieve. So building those relationships both with students, ourselves and the university has been key to a lot of the success we've had.
And it is the case, correct me if I'm wrong, it is the case that there are lots of our students who are doing degree programmes that have a high intensity of contact hours, whether that's, you know, medics, dentists, engineers, so on, and they're still able, they still find a way to find time for sport, as well as those students who might have potentially fewer contact hours, and it is possible to find that balance.
Yeah, and with a lot of students, in terms of some of those courses you talked about, you know, in the second or third years, they might be, you know, working in hospitals, they might be working away, whether that's in Bath, Swindon, you know, and when those kind of situations happen, we work with them to work out ways of getting around that and kind of seeing when they are back, or is it early morning sessions before they go, or all kinds of things that we've kind of come up against in the past to make sure that that combining of both interests kind of moves along quite nicely, because they support each other. Sometimes the sport helps them do the study, and sometimes actually going and studying helps to give them the energy to achieve the sports stuff as well. So it's definitely, they work well together and balance nicely.
Fantastic, thank you. Right, that's brilliant. So we've covered quite a lot of questions that came into us before the webinar started, but obviously things that you have been saying through your presentations and through the question and answer session now have piqued people's interest, because we've got lots of questions that have come in. So I'm going to ask a question. I'll direct it to the person I think it might be most sensibly answered by, but please tell me if I'm wrong. First of all, then, we've got a viewer who says, what's the standard of football like at Bristol? What league, for example, do your first team play in? Matt Payne, you're nodding, which makes me think maybe you answer that one.
We are fantastic at football. That's just only because I'm biased. No, we've got a really positive football programme, again, across the men's and women's club. The women are actually in the Premier League. And were promoted last year and had a very successful season, and we're only on goal difference away from winning the Premier League. So they've really that's really grown in the last few years, where we've actually been engaging players that have played for clubs such as Brighton, Tottenham, who have come to the university to want to carry on playing football and linked locally with Bristol in the Women's Super League. The men are one league below that, so they're in 1A, but also, again, we have 5 teams in the Bucks League for men's football, so a really big programme. An opportunity there. So yeah, we play on the 3G. It's a great facility. It's a great surface that both of the clubs enjoy, and some of the football we've seen this year has been pretty special, actually. So it's lots of opportunities, really good coaches that work with those teams, and then obviously we've got the intramural league, and we've got a fantastic Downs league that happens on a Wednesday as well, which is a little bit more of your kind of sociable football, but we do find some gems of players up there as well. So it's yeah, lots of opportunities for football, and we've really improved our offer for football in the last couple of years.
Fantastic, thank you. So clearly, in the current climate, there are questions about how we're going to operate both academically in our residences with sport as a consequence of the restrictions around that COVID have introduced. So we've got a question, Matt Birch, I wonder if you might be able to answer this, which is, will all of our facilities be open if COVID continues? So it's obviously it's hard to kind of predict very far into the future, but maybe you could talk us through the first semester, the first few months ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it is difficult to predict too far into the future, but across the university, there's been really stringent measures required to reopen our facilities, and that's the same for sport and all other buildings across the campus. But all of our sports facilities are open, and the plan is certainly that they will remain open for the foreseeable future. Obviously, they comply with COVID secure regulations, and there's all sorts of measures, which means capacity has been affected to maintain social distancing, for example. But certainly, our plan is that we will continue to offer a facility or have a facility offer for students when they arrive. But I would highlight, as I mentioned earlier, that there is online opportunities as well, which is increasingly a focus for the division. So whether students are able to come into the facilities or not, the division will still be supplying sport and activity for our students.
Fantastic, thank you. Right, Anna, one of our viewers, has asked, How will selection for sports teams, specifically, she asked, hockey, work this year? Will there still be trials? And if so, when will they be?
Do you want me to start?
Yeah,
I can start. I suppose in terms of
do a tag team.
Yeah, we'll tag team this one. In terms of
sporting term there for the uninitiated.
In terms of sort of to give it a go, which we kind of referenced previously, the opportunity to come and meet the coaches, meet the existing players and the guys that have returned, come and see the facilities, see when the time slots are for training. All of that is kind of this year happening over the next month or so, the month of October for the clubs. So that usually, historically, we've kind of focused it more around kind of the first couple of weeks, but as Matt's kind of referenced the capacity, we've stretched it out a bit more this year so that everybody can have a chance. And then Matt, from November, we're kind of moving a bit more towards preparation for Bucks, aren't we, for that competition, hopefully restarting shortly.
Yeah, and obviously with just that discussion obviously aimed at this kind of COVID year that we're in, obviously for any students that would be coming in September 2021, the idea behind those clubs is that both the coaching staff and the students support those kind of opportunities for players to come and try those sports out. And then obviously selection is kind of done depending on kind of how many spaces there might be in the clubs, you know, making sure that whether it's those teams being filled with new players, and then obviously making sure that if those spaces are filled, what are the opportunities for that sport? So for hockey, for example, you know, very popular sport. A lot of people on this call probably might be playing hockey at the moment in your school environment, you know, really great sport. And it might be that you come to Bristol, you want to play hockey, you want to play in the first or second team, you know, so the opportunity to get in touch with our head coach and have those conversations during and before you come are available as well. You're more than welcome to come down, check out a training session, bring your stick, all those kind of things could be opportunities for you to kind of see the environment. It's really important to kind of come down and spend a bit of time in those environments to see if it's for you. And then that selection process can then take place from the coaches as people are seen in different sessions. But it's more than one. You don't get just one chance, and if you don't have a great day, you know, you're kind of out the door. It's giving people the opportunity to come along, train in an environment like that, and then hopefully show your skills over time.
Perfect, thank you. And now I think we talked a little bit about this both in the presentation and in some of the questions that came in before the webinar had started, but we have had a viewer that says, can I start a sport from scratch, or do you have to be brilliant before you arrive at university in order to take part?
Shall I start with that one?
Yeah.
Absolutely, anybody can come and try the sports that we have on offer. So within the Be Active programme that I highlighted earlier, there are all sorts of come and try sessions which are regularly programmed or weekly programmed, which you can come and take part in. But also within the 70 different sports clubs within the Students' Union, there are social elements right through to performance sport. And so whatever level you are, I absolutely guarantee whatever level you are, there will be an opportunity for you to play that sport. Actually, I mean, it is worth highlighting that there are people who've come to the university who've never played a sport before and have gone on to achieve really outstanding things and be world champions and win all sorts of medals at games. So in certain sports, that is possible too. So yes, absolutely, there is something for beginners, and for talented beginners, there is progression routes so you can really develop while you're here.
Lovely, thank you. We've had a question. Very often people associate sport with friendly rivalry. That's part of the nature of these things. And one of our viewers has asked, do we have a sports rivalry with UWE, which is the University of the West of England, which is our neighbouring university within Bristol? They say a little bit like Oxford and Cambridge have potentially with a boats. It is boats. So is it? Yes, boats. Do we have a sports rivalry with UWE, or indeed anyone else?
Yeah, as the questioner sort of suggested, yes, sport does sort of throw up these types of rivalries. in rowing in particular, similar to the boat race, we have an annual event against UWE, which takes place down on the harbour side. And all of the great and the good from the university come along and watch the various boats compete against each other. When it comes to the other sports, because, and this sounds perhaps slightly arrogant, but we're in slightly different leagues, so we're often in higher leagues than UWE. So in many sports, we don't compete with them as part of the Bucks season, although there are examples where that does happen. Yeah, in certain sports it does take place, but it isn't something across the board. Actually, there are also really good examples of us working in partnership with UWE. So there's various initiatives. In fact, there's one relating to UWE and driving up participation in rugby, which really demonstrates a slightly different approach, actually partnership rather than competition.
Brilliant, thank you. And I mean, that partnership angle is really interesting, isn't it? Because Joe, you spoke earlier about how sport is clearly an integral part of the university, but it's also of the city as well. Could you talk a bit more about the opportunities that there might be across the city for students to take part in sport?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few examples of where we work with some of the sort of sporting, not sort of things that come up in Bristol and and I think there's a great example through our University of Bristol performance swim program, which actually takes athletes from swimmers from UWE, swimmers from Bristol University, and also swimmers from a local club who are kind of excelling and coming through the ranks in the local club, and that's a program which takes place in our pool in the Students' Union building, and a really good example of where, okay, it's an elite one rather, a performance level athletes as opposed to participation in this example, but yeah, where we've got that kind of real mix from across the city of Bristolians, and also people who we've welcomed in to be honorary Bristolians in the community, to be able to sort of take part in that, and there are many examples. Matt, I think I've got some performance as well. Yeah.
Can I just follow on?
On
that? In terms of professional sports clubs across the city, obviously there are a number, both football, rugby, cricket, etc. And we have partnerships with each of them. So on the one hand, that can be providing opportunities for really talented athletes to progress potentially into the professional game. But it's also about getting reduced price tickets for our students so they can go and watch some games and engage with the club in that way. So yeah, all sorts of partnerships with professional clubs and other sporting bodies across the city.
Could I also add in there as well, I think it's in terms of our community engagement and the opportunities that we have for our students to get engaged with the community, get out with students from other schools, from Bristol schools. We have events at Coombe Dingle, a festival of school sports where we give children from across Bristol the opportunity to come and see what it's like at a university, and to see what kind of different sports we do. Like Matt's referenced a couple already of maybe non-traditional activities that kids can get involved in, and I think that's a really important for us. One, in terms of the experiences that our students gain, and being able to work with a range of age groups, but also that part of the university is part of Bristol, and Bristol's part of the university, and being able to for children to have the opportunity to see that it is something that they can absolutely come and be part of, or aspire to join in the future. I think that's really important, and something like sport and physical activity is another way of getting people involved and know that it's available to them.
Absolutely, and it's a really good way, isn't it? I think that's one of the real benefits of being a non-campus university, that actually all of these other opportunities to get to know the city, to take part in sport in other venues, are all very accessible to our students. And as you said, a great way to kind of escape what sometimes can feel a bit like a student bubble, actually, and to understand and feel part of the city of which you're a part. It's fantastic. We've talked quite a lot over the course of the webinar about sport, but obviously it's about the work of your centre is about health as well. And can you talk us through those kind of initiatives that you have for people that maybe don't want to take part in very kind of elite sport, but either just want to stay healthy, want to keep their mind healthy, want to connect with other people? Do you run sort of initiatives in that respect as well?
Yeah, and I mean, it is worth saying that perhaps, if you went back 5 or 10 years, then the university would have been very closely associated with traditional sport and, particularly sports like rugby. Over the last 4 or 5 years, you've really seen a transition in our approach. So probably, it's getting on for 70% of the students across the institution engage in some form of activity organised by the division. But when I say activity, I really mean that in its broadest sense. So that could be a dance class, for example, in the residencies that we would organise, or a yoga class in the Richmond building. So we're keen to work with students to develop our programme so it's fit for purpose and actually meets students' needs. So always open to new ideas and new ways of delivering our service. But it is sport and activity in its broadest sense, in order to engage as many students across the institution as possible.
Yeah. And so well-being generally is a massive part of what you do.
I guess it's fundamental to everything that we would do. It would be a really core part of what the division is about.
Brilliant, thank you. Right, I'm conscious of time and we've got questions that keep coming in, which is amazing. We've got somebody who has asked, are there any sport-related jobs that students can do at Bristol? This particular viewer says, I teach an aerobics class in my village at the moment and would love to keep doing it. Is that an option for our students when they get here? Who'd like to give us an insight into that?
Yeah, some of the detail Joe might do better on, but yes, absolutely. So at the start of each academic year, we're very keen to recruit students to help us to deliver our service. That could be in part through opportunities like student activators who help us to run the sessions, but actually there's also more specialist stuff. So whether you're a lifeguard or you're an instructor or you worked in your local leisure centre, absolutely, we'd be keen to hear from you in those first week or two. So potentially you can come and earn some money alongside the rest of your sporting experience.
It's also something to be said around referees and that kind of angle as well, because particularly with football, we do have a little bit of a shortage, I think, in Bristol for football referees. So those kind of qualifications that you might have got previously, or actually that you might be interested in gaining whilst you're at university, can also kind of supplement income for you, or some form of payment experience and employability.
Perfect. And then the final, right, I was going to say final because we've got a couple more. And the next one is, can I carry on playing sport when I graduate? I mean, I assume this means the viewer is asking, can they continue playing on sport with Bristol? Obviously, you're not barred from taking part in any physical activity just because you've graduated. But are graduates able to access our facilities? I think is the question.
Yeah, so we have an affiliated band of sports pass prices effectively, so there is still a reduced rate offer for our kind of gym, swim, fitness classes, those kind of things for graduates, and as part of sports clubs, there's the opportunity to have affiliate membership of Bristol SU. So if you were interested in continuing to support some of those clubs, you can do so, and that's also available for staff if you're moving on to a different maybe job or something, but that's available as well. We also have sort of alumni events as well. A lot of the sports clubs have opportunities for alumni to come back and have kind of competitions and that kind of thing, and that's something which is fantastic, and we're hoping to do more of that when we're in the future.
I think it's important to say as well, most people when they've done an undergrad, they just want to do a master's anyway because they don't want to leave. So by that stage, they just want to stay on, have another year of it, and they don't want to leave the city, which is you can wonder why.
Oh, that's beautifully done, Matt. Couldn't have been scripted better.
That's a fiver.
Thank you for that, Matt. And obviously, people who are interested in finding out more about anything that you have said over the course of the webinar can go to your pages on the university website, can get in touch with us further. Just finally, before we conclude, what is your favourite thing about being involved in the sort of leadership and participation of sport, exercise and health at Bristol? Just to put you entirely on the spot. I'm going to start with you, Joe.
Yeah, cool. Well, as a member of staff within this division for a very long time, I think the thing that makes it special is the community. It's our students, it's our staff, it's our community in the wider sense of being Bristol, and being able to see the change and the development through students and through their experience with us, whether that be sport or whether that be in the wider context. It's fantastic. Our sporting We Are Bristol family is something that is really special, and that alumni link that you just mentioned, and that following it through and being part of that, even if you are doing it through our virtual challenges rather than in person, but still being involved and wanting to continue to be part of the University of Bristol, I think is really special.
Lovely, thank you. Matt Birch.
I guess it's a similar point, but I mean, I've worked at a number of higher education institutions, some of which have been really very high profile sporting universities. And I guess the thing which really stands Bristol out is the approach to include everybody. So yes, of course, we provide support for our really talented athletes, but actually it's about inclusion, and it's about providing an opportunity for everybody to do some form of activity. You mentioned health and wellbeing. It's fundamental in terms of a healthy lifestyle, that people build activity into their lifestyles. And I think Bristol just does that really well. I think there's always more that we can develop and build on, but I think we're up there with the very best in terms of that.
Fantastic, thank you. And finally, Matt Payne.
I think that those two have spoken about some of the core things that I think run under the division at the moment. And for me, to see the change in students and young people is something that kind of drives me personally. The students that may come in the first year and leave, the development that can happen, and how sport can play a part in that. And how for us as well, the vice versa kind of nature of learning from young people to how we do things and how we do things even better is something that I think is keeping the kind of the wheels turning, and continues to make the programs and the support structure that we have for students even better. And that's exciting.
Lovely, thank you. Well, as we're approaching the end of today's webinar, I would just like to say a massive thank you to all of you for watching, but also to our panellists, to Joe, to Matt Birch and Matt Payne. Throughout our virtual open week, you can find live webinars, live chats, on-demand videos and other resources available on our website. And to check them out, you just need to go to www.bristol.ac.uk/study/undergraduate /visits/open days. And if you get that far, you're a better person than I am, because it's the longest URL ever. But I think if you put in open week after one of the /, you'll also find it. There you can browse any of the subjects that you're interested in. You can find out more about what student life is like. So if you're interested in accommodation, if you're interested in the Students' Union, if you want to know more about sport, or indeed you want to have a deeper dive into our academic subjects, you can find all you need to know there. And if you have got any questions, please feel free to join one of the other events that are taking place this week, or to email our brilliant inquiries team on choosebristol-ug@bristol.ac.uk, who would be delighted to speak to you. But for today, from me and the panel, thank you, goodbye, and we hope to see you very soon. Goodbye.
Bye.